Hi guys, and welcome to today's session. So we're going to be finishing off this piece today, probably doing some more portraits in coming weeks, as they're always really kind of popular subjects to be working on. And I'm going to add in, so as well as the little mechanical pencil, Staedtler mechanical pencil I've been using, we're going to be using a Conte Paris charcoal, or sort of charcoal stick called a Pierre Noir, and it's a 2B. And I want to use this just to kind of go in and do some accents and little bits and pieces like that. And then the other kind of main focus of today is going to be just rendering in a little bit more detail than we've sort of done so far the forms around the nose, eyes, like the center of the face basically, which is always where I kind of like to go in and pull my final detail out of. You can make everything kind of uniform detail, but I always think a more of a kind of focal point approach to detail is good. But let's start with a little bit of adding these accents in, and then we'll go back into those details. So one thing I want to do is I want to get a little bit of a kind of outline. So it's going to be a slightly more graphic look than I sometimes go for. But I think that suits the subject. So you can see this pencil, this charcoal pencil, just allows for just a bit more darkness, a bit more depth. So places like this little sort of notch in here between the hair, can push that just a little bit darker. So I'm just sort of spot picking places I want to go, just push things a little bit darker. I can sort of smudge with my fingers a little bit as well. Be down here underneath the ear, that would be a nice point to go slightly darker and then roll out of that. You can see just this kind of accenting helps just pop things a little bit more. I might not continue the really dark outlining all the way up top here, but I will kind of continue a slightly more detailed, slightly crisper outline, just working with the little graphite pencil. But as I say, I don't want to go over the top in terms of addition of detail up here, so we can kind of keep it a little bit looser on the whole. I'm just continuing to work a little bit around the sort of what's going to be the focal point of the drawing, so we've got all of that stuff, everything sort of established. Before figuring out exactly how dark we're going to push, or not dark, sorry, but how detailed we're going to push the forms around the features. So finally we've got starting to get a little bit up into the features here. So definitely underneath the mouth there's a pretty dark occlusion shadow there, so we want to sort of underneath that lip, I think, get that in. So that's looking all right for the moustache, maybe a little bit more. Let's pull some of these sort of hair folds, make it a little bit more brushy. This had been quite kind of blocked out before. This is adding a nice little kind of layer of detail to it. So really just thinking about how can we sort of extract a nicer sense of detail and specificity to a lot of the forms without necessarily kind of adding loads of, we're not rendering exactly, just kind of tweaking. A lot of it's to do with value relationships. I'm kind of tweaking the value relationships, adding some extra kind of penumbra. So here I'm going to add a little bit more of a And one of my main issues every time I stop working on it each week is I feel like his cheeks are kind of pinched in somehow. So maybe I need to pull just a little bit more lightness back across the left-hand side of his face. That's where I feel like it's a little bit cramped. Yeah, that's looking a bit better. So I'm gonna just slightly neaten out where I was erasing there, and then I'm gonna shade back into it. Usually this is quite quick, so because I've already kind of got a decent base, if I just sort of add my transitions. Get this little crease in the cheek back again. Yeah, and I like that a little bit better. Still something a bit off about it for me, but that'll do. Might just be, sometimes you can kind of imagine that things are more wrong than they necessarily are. So I'm gonna just do a sort of general pass in the shadow, just unifying the shadow a bit. So I'm gonna pull all these shadow tones together somewhat. So I'm kind of playing down the extent to which there's reflected light. Yes, that's looking a little bit better, I think. A little bit more tone on this cheek just to balance it out, but generally I like the look of that. So I'm fairly happy with the nose, the mouth now. So we're going to go in, and final thing we want to do is just get these accents working in the eyes as well. So let's work a little bit along this bedbug line. And when you're doing kind of laying in charcoal like this, it'll usually be a bit choppier. But once you start to shade over with the pencils, you may have noticed when I start to shade over with the pencil, it kind of smooths it out. So almost use the mechanical pencil, the way that I approach it, a bit like a stomp. So a stomp is a tool that is made up of rolled up paper, and it's used to sort of smudge and smooth out what you've laid on, whether it be charcoal or whether it be graphite. So if I take my mechanical pencil now, you can see it sort of amplifies the darkness, but it also evens out the darker tone. And then on the other side I'll put a few dark notes as well. Probably not quite so many because I want the eye nearer to us to be a little bit more the focal point. Get a little bit of it coming across these darker tones. And again, just increase the penumbra a little bit. Kind of pull it slightly more across the form. And I just want to try to work a little bit finally on getting the few bits of form around his kind of wrinkles in his eye as well. Nice little bit of character. I've just lost my mechanical pencil lead, so I've picked up just another little Staedtler regular pencil just to finish this off, because it really was very minimal what I was trying to do. Just that, as always happens, that's where it goes. So maybe just a little bit more. That crease over his forehead. So I'm just going to lift out the final highlights. And yeah, that's looking pretty good, I think, as a finishing point. So you can see it makes a big difference having that. Yeah, those extra kind of the depth of tone that you get through the charcoal just gives it a nice little kind of punch and a bit more scope to develop some of the tones in the rest of the piece as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this series. I'll be doing some more portraiture coming up. If you have any requests for kind of like styles or types of approaches that you'd like me to look at in these lessons, definitely just going to comment on here or send a message on YouTube. And if you would like to stay up to date with all the videos that I'm doing, or from other tutors and students at the school, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button. And if you want to see the sorts of pay qualifications that we offer, which we've got quite a lot now, you can click the link through in the description as well to the website. So yeah, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and nearly there, and I will see you next week.